The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
There we go. Sorry about that, folks. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and on Channel 54 on Simul TV. And Channel 54 is the X Zone TV channel. For more information about watching the X Zone TV show, as well as how you can subscribe to Simul TV and watch the great programming that they have available for you, including Movies on Demand by Sony. Great movies. Love it. Not just because we're there, because Steve Turner, the president and CEO of Simul TV, has worked so hard to get this new streaming platform where it is today, and we're very proud to be part of the Simul TV family. Once again, that's www.simultv.com. My guest this hour is a gentleman who talks backwards. Well, he doesn't talk backwards. What he does is, well, I'm just going to bring him on. David Oates is my special guest. And David, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Oh, here we go. There we go. I'm doing very well, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing not too bad for an old guy. How have you been, my friend?
Oh, well, not too bad for an old guy either. been fairly busy, writing lots of books and doing lots of tape analysis and training students and seeing clients. You know, just always busy.
Good for you. And the family's well, I hope?
Yeah, everyone's very good. Yeah,
super.
Yeah, kids are great. Grandkids are good.
Good for you, my friend. Listen, David, since you and I last talked, I believe it was before COVID hit. And,
gee, yeah. Oh, heavens. There's a lot of water under the bridge since then.
Yes. How did COVID affect you and your family?
Probably not a great deal, really. Except I can't travel overseas. I am not vaccinated, and because you can't get into most countries without being vaccinated nowadays. So I'm stuck home in Australia, basically. So, life in Australia changed fairly dramatically, of course, as it did all around the world. You know, lockdowns and masks and vaccines. And,
yes.
You know, all the we had tracking software on our phones and all sorts of crazy things. That all that's finished now. It's like it never happened. It's all over, and I think, gee, what was all that all about in the first place?
Yeah, I was a little concerned when they started talking about monkeypox. I figured, here we go again. But thank the good Lord that kind of fell by the wayside, and I would imagine that all the scientists and the doctors are just waiting for the next sign of a possible pandemic, because I know that they're still watching the SARS strain and the COVID strains to see how they're going to adjust. During the COVID, were there any tapes that you listened to that had anything to do with COVID?
Oh yeah, I was all over COVID.
Really? Eh?
Yeah. Let me. Let me see. What have I got here first? Why don't I pull up some of the very first reversals I found on the CDC way back at the very beginning. Let's have a look. CDC. All right. Okay. So let's go with a. Let's go with a controversial one.
We've been saying that while we hope this is not going to be severe, we are planning as if it is.
And here she says, deceive in your con.
Deceive in your con.
Deceive in your con. Deceive in your con.
So what was the con? I'm not too sure. Is it the fact that the virus was not as bad as we first thought? It's what we were told. Was there an ulterior motive behind it? Yeah, here's another reversal.
You can imagine the symptoms of novel coronavirus look a lot like other viral respiratory diseases that are circulating this time of year, and so it's going to be difficult for clinicians to differentiate solely on the basis of those, solely on the basis of the symptoms.
And backwards, this one says that disease will use the terror.
That disease is the terror.
You hear that one okay?
I sure do, yeah.
So was it a manufactured crisis to bring terror, which it certainly did very, very well? I mean, for 2 years, the world was in absolute terror over it. Whether they still are or not is another thing to talk about. But yeah, and so I guess while we're looking at reversals, we should look at Fauci, which I was all over back in the whole COVID crisis. You haven't played these reversals for ages. Let's have a look. Let's see what I can pull out on. Okay, here we are. This is Fauci.
That if we get 70 to 85% of the population vaccinated, that we will in fact get a degree of herd immunity, which would be represented by kind of an umbrella or a blanket of protection.
And this was from early 2021. Had to deal a scam. I'm sure you'd agree. Fairly clear reversal. So
Perfectly.
Fauci's retired now, of course. So, here's a classic one. This is what I think one of the big scams was. That where did the virus come from? And here's Fauci being grilled in Congress by Rand Paul about whether it was a result of gain-of-function research. So if you can remember all those terms floating around last year and the year before last.
Yeah.
So here's Fauci denying that as a result of gain-of-function.
But again, we have not funded gain-of-function research on this virus in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. No matter how many times you say it, there was research.
And so he's denying it, but backwards he says, yes, super germ.
Yes, super germ.
So that would tend to imply that it was a result of gain-of-function research, which
Right.
was a big publicity back in the days. And there's still talk about pursuing that even more. And then we have an ominous twist to the virus, like this one here. Tell me if I'm throwing these at you too quickly. So here we got the next one.
What we have right now, we have over 120, close to 130 million people have already received at least one dose of this.
And he says, now we sealed that beast.
And now we sealed that beast.
So I was finding all these apocalyptic type things in first on the virus. It really had me quite puzzled. And like there's a couple of there was one on Joe Biden. Let me see if I can pull that one out real quick. That was really quite strange. Of course, I got some classic ones on Joe Biden that
Joe who?
yeah, right. Okay, so here's Joe Biden on the virus.
One of the great gifts of the spirit of independence. And think about this. One of the great gifts is our capacity to see ourselves whole and see ourselves honestly.
But here he says, you're not safe, Armageddon.
Wow.
These are the type of reversals I was getting, and they quite puzzled me, actually. I don't know what to tell you.
David, before we go further with your marvelous reversals, many people are, I hope, are being introduced to you for the first time, and then it's not going to be the last time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became involved with the world of reversal.
Well, before I got involved with reverse speech, I was a youth pastor. I used to work with street kids and drug rehab, and that was my profession. And the way I got involved in it was there was an evangelist from the United States traveling through, and he was preaching that rock and roll was the devil's music, and if you take records and run them in reverse, you can hear these satanic messages. So,
well, I buried Paul. Paul.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm a bit of the electronic stuff. I'm a ham radio operator, and always a bit of interest in audio. So I said, let's have a look at these tapes. So I got them out and played Stairway to Heaven backwards, as I'm sure many people did back in the day. And there was the satanic message that they claimed was there. I go, gee, what on earth is this? And I was intrigued. And I started, this was back in 84 when I first started. And I started reversing music and found these backward messages all through music. And then I accidentally stumbled across it in human speech. And once you find it in speech, it's a whole different ballgame altogether. And so in 87, I published my first book on reverse speech. And I called it reverse speech. It used to be called backmasking back in the days. And
right.
I didn't like that term. It had all these sort of satanic connotations to it. So I devised a new term, reverse speech, and I proposed in my new theory about language, that language is bi-level, forwards as well as backwards. And gee, what happened from then? Gee whiz, I moved over to the United States to live. I opened a therapy practice, which I still do to this day, over Zoom. And started doing radio shows and lectured to the FBI and the CIA, and worked for some police departments back in the early days. Haven't done any work for police now for at least 20 years.
Wow!
But back in the early days, I did. And so I'm so who am I? I'm the founder of Reverse Speech. I've been doing it for 40 years now.
I must tell you, I remember the very first time you were on the X Zone, going back, let me see, that would be about 1998, 1999, when I was at CKTB. And you started playing some of the reverse speech clips, and then you started playing the babies, and the phones went crazy. I remember that very well. So it's always a great pleasure having you on the show, David. I admire the work you do, and I find it fascinating. So you and I have to take a little bit of a break here. Okay. When we come back, let's get to more of these fascinating reversals that you're bringing to the world. Sure. All right, David, stand by. And David, what is the website our listeners can go to find out more about you and find out about your course that you offer?
Reversespeech.com, REVERSESPEECH.com.
All right, David Oates and I will be back on the other side of this break. X Zone Nation, don't go away. Do you enjoy paranormal, sci-fi romance, yet find yourself tired of the same old themes and storylines? Then you won't want to miss Kahira O'Donnell's latest exciting release, To Taste You Again. Alien Lord Kane McKean knew the moment that his destined mate was born. He watched from afar, waiting for her to grow from child to woman. However, before she was old enough, she was stolen from her home world by flesh pirates. Kane searched 10 long years to find her held in a suspension chamber, a 10-year-old girl in a woman's body. He rescued her and swore to give her time to grow up, but with his very life depending upon winning her as a mate, has he waited too long? Get your copy today. To Taste You Again by Kahira O'Donnell is now available on Amazon or KahiraO'Donnell.com. Before we get back to my good friend David Oates, I'd just like to remind everyone that tonight is a 3-hour show instead of the regular 4 hours because of network commitments and programming that is being put in place because of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And that came as a shock to all of us here in Canada. She was very well loved. and always looked at as our reigning monarch. And David, you're in Australia, and just before you, funny, we had Helen Rees on from Brisbane, Australia. So I feel like singing Waltzing Matilda now, and drinking a nice cold Foster's.
That's the Australian way, mate.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, the death of the Queen is all over the news here.
Yeah.
As it is all around the world. I was watching it before I went to bed, and I said she's been monitored by doctors, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up and, of course, saw the news that she'd passed.
The political arena must be like shooting fish in a tank for you.
Yeah, it's full of goodies.
Yeah,
I should play you the latest on the raid of Mar-a-Lago if you want some control.
Oh, I'd love that. I would love that, and I'm sure my audience would too.
All right, let me go and get that out there. This is on Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, and what's his name? Attorney General Garland, Merrick Garland. Right, okay. So here is Christopher Wray first off, and he's asked a question about the raid, and he says, "Well, I can't talk about that." So here we go.
Well, as I'm sure you can appreciate, that's not something that I can talk about, so I'd refer you to the department.
Can you hear that? It's only on one channel here. Is it coming through?
Yeah,
okay?
it's coming in through perfectly over here.
Okay. All right, so we've got two reversals I want to play on. And first one says, "Trump's that issue."
Non's that issue. Non's that issue.
Loud and clear. Trump said issue, yeah.
And then he says this one. This is damning.
In the line of duty. It's the highest number since 9/11. So the men and women of law enforcement, including the men and women of the FBI, make heroic sacrifices for everyone in this country.
And here he says, "I pay to ruin him."
Yeah, I pay to ruin him.
Holy cow.
There you go. So that's pretty blunt and straightforward. So who has he paid to ruin him? Well, let's find out, shall we?
I think we shall.
Yeah, this is the Attorney General, Merrick Garland.
Now, the Justice Department has filed a motion in the Southern District of Florida to unseal a search warrant and property receipt relating to a court-approved search that the FBI conducted earlier this week.
The guy paid it.
The guy paid it.
This is nothing less than a deliberate attempt to take out Donald Trump, and people have been paid to do it. The FBI is engaged, and the Attorney General is engaged in, what can you call it? A political assassination.
That's right.
Sorry.
All they need now is Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald, and away you go.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Listen to this one. I'll play one more.
Much of our work is by necessity conducted out of the public eye. We do that to protect the constitutional rights of all Americans.
And he says, "We give assassin." So they're after Trump's throat. We haven't seen the last of this by a long shot. So,
funny you should say that, because I firmly believe that I'm not a psychic, David. You've known me long enough to know that. But I think President Trump is going to go for it again. I think that Hillary is going to be shown to have her hand in what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Because Biden, in my opinion, is too stupid to think of anything like this. In fact, he's just a puppet.
You're absolutely right. Look, I had a reversal up to play on Biden that just really sums that up. Let me pull that, but I closed it out when we looked at this one. So I can pull it up real quick. I've got just a classic reversal on Biden that just really shows us where his mind is at. And
well, it's certainly not in his head.
No. Okay, here we go. This is his classic, his pauses and stutters and stamps.
Yeah.
This incoherent gibberish forward.
No indication that's the case at all with regard to, there's a total of
and he says backwards, "Have I lost it?"
Of lost it.
Oh, good Lord. David, have you ever seen Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist?
No. You know what? I think I might have seen him.
He has a puppet that is called Walter, and it is the spitting image of Joe Biden.
Oh, is it really? Oh,
I'll send you a picture. Every time I see Jeff Dunham now with Walter, I think of Jeff Dunham having his hand up the boop of Joe Biden. Except Walter's a hell of a lot smarter than Joe Biden could ever be. And I've got to tell you, speaking about Jeff Dunham, here in St. Catharines, the anti-racist committee tried to block Jeff Dunham from doing his show here in St. Catharines.
Oh,
because because he has a puppet that is called Ahmed, the dead terrorist.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Okay. So he's an entertainer, right? I figured if anybody'd say anything, it was because of Walter looking like Joe Biden, but no. During the insurrection that happened on January the 6th, after President Trump was ousted from office, were you able to find any compelling reversals?
Look, no, I not. Yeah, look, I found some on Giuliani and the Sun. Now, I don't know where I've got them. You've actually caught me on the hop now.
Yeah, I could tell that by the expression on your face. It's like, what the hell is McConnell doing now? He's screwing me up over here.
Yeah, I've got it here somewhere. Oh, gee whiz. I wouldn't even know where to.
I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I wouldn't even know where to look for it.
Do you have any good reversals? Well, Giuliani. Can you pull that one up?
Oh yeah, I got some great ones at Giuliani.
Good old Grudy.
Yeah, he's a good one to look at.
He's a legend in his own mind.
A, B,
Yeah.
C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Oh, you know what? I've got a. Can I? Look, I got a classic one. I don't know where I can play it on the air.
Sure, go ahead.
The F word. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Okay. This is classic. This is from Giuliani's weekly broadcast. Okay. And this broadcast was conducted, I think, about 3 weeks before he lost his law license in New York City in the civil proceedings. Okay. So this is before that happened.
I would say I'm comfortable describing it as a modern-day pogrom, or the closest thing we have had to a pogrom since Crown Heights. And that was in one area of the city.
And he says, civil will blank my ass soon.
Oh, jeez.
Speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Hey, sure. The word's in the dictionary now, so what the hell?
And that's exactly what happened to him. And, and gee, what else I got on Journey? Oh, here's a funny one. He's talking about Jews.
But what happened here? After 6 days of violence directed solely at Jewish Americans in America's most prominent cities and overseas in some of the world's most prominent cities.
And the Jews, they lost the cowards. Oh, that's not funny at all. I thought
No, it's not. Yeah.
I'm Jewish, they lost the terrorists.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Jewish, they lost the terrorists.
A little bit unclear, that one. Sorry.
I'm Jewish, they lost the terrorists.
Yeah, that's probably not the best one to play.
But it does show, it goes towards the character of the man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no. So we've got to play both sides of the coin here, David.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And here's a funny, strange one, Giuliani.
When you look at the film footage of Los Angeles, New York, and London, you see an eerily similar pattern. And almost all of these involve Palestinians and Palestinian supporters.
He says, I will miss Hillary.
Well, Miss Hillary. Well, Miss Hillary.
Oh, my gosh.
Miss Hillary.
I don't know. Maybe he misses someone to spar with. But like you said, she's going to come back. Well, she's not going to run for president. She's already said that. But boy, I bet you she's got a hand in everything that's going on.
Oh, I'm sure she has. I can't see that. Well, what about Michelle Obama running for president?
I have heard only rumors about that.
Yeah.
Whether it's happened or not, I don't know. Hey, listen, let's change topic a little bit.
Sure. Where do you want to go?
I've been doing some research. Well, every year I do a research project.
Well, these crystals are supposed to have very special property.
Every year I do a research project. In 2020, it was COVID. In last year, it was churches and religion, and this year it's UFOs. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm finding some fascinating stuff. This is the Travis Walton. He was the famous abductee, of course.
Sure, fire in the sky.
Yes, right. 1974, I think it was allegedly happened, and he's talking about this event with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Well, these crystals are supposed to have very special properties for people who are into crystal stuff, but
what does that say there, Jamie? This is what happens. That's what can.
And he says, "I see the powerful ship.
I see the powerful ship.
You hear that one? So
I sure did. Crystal clear.
So from that, we would assume that he's telling a true story. Now, let's look at the other end of the scale. And I've just finished doing Billy Meyer.
There we go.
Well known, Billy Meyer. So let's pull out the two first reversals I found on Billy Meyer.
Where do they come from, Mr. Meyer? They shall be coming from the star picture of the play Oates.
So is he telling the truth or not? Backwards, he says, I help the bullshit prosper. Okay.
Oh God, I believe that. That sounds like something he'd do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And where's it? I've got lots of them on Billy Meyer. They're all bad. Look, this is his. Hang on, let me. Hang on, I'll do this one. This is one of his motives.
His check card will be checked by a robot, by a machine.
He says, "I have the cash you give."
The cash you give.
The cash you give. There you go. And then it gets even more specific. These are just a handful. Like these are all up on my YouTube channel. If people want to go and have a look at my YouTube channel, here we go. Here's the other one. And while I'm promoting, all my books are available for free download. All 15 of my books on my website. So if you want to get any of my books, all totally free, go to my website.
And reversespeech.com, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Right, here's Billy Meyer again.
Any other earth human being, if man, if child, or if woman, there is just really nothing.
He says, you con in it, cash you get. You got that one okay?
Oh, yes, very well.
Yeah. So I put Travis Walton in the true basket, and I put Billy Meyer in the con basket. There you go.
Now, how long does it take you to go through a clip? For example, the Billy Meyer tape. I'm sure that was just a small part of a long interview.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I analysed an hour interview. That took me, I did it over about 2 days, here and there. So
right.
It probably took me 5 or 6 hours to analyze the whole interview. Yeah, it's one of the biggest drawbacks about reverse speech is it's a very time-intensive task. And it has, unfortunately, is what kept people away from getting involved in the field over the years, is that you've really got to be very, very dedicated and very motivated and driven, and be willing to sit at your desk for hours and hours and hours on end finding reversals. And it's time intensive. But gee whiz, right now in my computer, just in media files alone, I've got 69,100 reversals.
My gosh.
Clips. And if you look at client files, I'd have over 1 million. The easy reversals and clients reversals over the years. So,
David, my good friend, you and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Always great having you. Thanks for all the great work that you do. And like I said, you make the phones light up. People love listening to the great work you've done. So please stand by. We'll be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Now, if you'd like to send me an email, it's xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And if you'd like to find out more about David, find out more reversals, as well as how you can take his course and become a reverse speech analyst yourself, visit www.reversespeech.com. We'll be back on the other side of this very short break. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And there you have it. It says simultv.com. Channel 54 is the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV, and we broadcast 7/24, 365. Just take a boo at the Simul TV website. Find out about all the great programming that is available to you as a subscriber. That's simultv.com. David Oates is our guest, and his website is reversespeech.com. David, what is your favorite type of reversal?
Oh, my favorite. It has to be the spiritual stuff. Easy. It's probably my greatest love of the work.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
Well, I wouldn't go quite that far.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Overkill.
Yeah, the spiritual stuff. Reverse speech gets down into a lot of what I call great spiritual wisdom, and that would be my favorite stuff. So, for example, here we've got a great reversal that actually tells us where reverse speech is coming from. Now, it's not in that file here. It's in another file. I have hundreds of folders in my computer, and as I chat away talking to you, I'm actually very skillfully passing the time while I find my example. So here we have the example I'm looking for. This talks about reverse speech.
Okay.
People ask me, does reverse...
And here's me on a radio show talking about some of the spiritual aspects of reverse speech.
Sometimes people ask me, does reverse speech endorse any particular religion? And the answer to that is no. There are no deities or religions that reverse speech endorses or says this is right or this is wrong. It just talks about the soul and the endlessness of life. And that in itself is very powerful.
And backwards it says, it's the voice in heaven.
Dude. bliss in heaven. This is the bliss in heaven.
You hear that one?
I sure do.
The bliss in heaven.
And see, that is the deepest part of reverse speech. And when you tap into the deeper aspects of reverse speech, you tap into a whole spiritual realm, which I never really talk about much. Yeah, here's a wonderful one. This is is one of my students. He's working with a client.
Will likely get reversals that are pretty clearly from your unconscious mind, your subconscious.
And he says, "Soul serve you, make you feel loved."
Soul serve you, make you feel loved. Soul serve you, make you feel loved.
Yeah, that one.
I sure do. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the stuff I love. I mean, you can find dirt on politicians every day. Here's a great one. This is a spirit talking to a man who's very concerned about finances.
Oh, wait a sec. This is a spirit talking to a man.
This is the spirit, the inner spirit.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
Not a ghost. Sorry.
Oh, all right.
All right. Okay. So
You had me all excited there, David.
Oh, I can play you some great ones on that if you want to.
Well, let's do that after. I want to hear this one.
Okay, we'll play this one first. Then I'll pull out an EVP example that will.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Depending on it. Okay, listen to this.
Does it further for us to put more energy and money and effort?
And this one says, "You're frightened. Lean on me."
Oh,
You're
wow.
frightened. Lean on me. You're frightened. Lean on me.
You hear that?
I sure do. David, if somebody was to read the Bible,
Yeah.
and let's say you read the same passage, I read the same passage, somebody else reads the same passage, would they all sound the same in reverse?
No, they will sound completely different depending on your own perception to the passage. So it's one of the questions I get asked a lot. Can we find out the truth behind the Bible, by reading into
Yeah.
order? But no, if you read the passage and you believe it, you may get a reversal and say, well, this is wonderful wisdom. And someone else reads the same passage and they think it's a load of rubbish, and you may get exactly that. This is a load of rubbish. So you will get your reaction to your own belief set around the passage you are reading, rather than truth behind the passage itself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So I would imagine it also has to do with the inflection of the words that the person is reading.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is also one of the misunderstandings when reverse speech is that it's to do with the words, but it's got little to do with the words, and more to do with the sounds, the little subtle intonations, the tonality, the pauses, the stutters, the stammers, and my theory proposes that a lot of these inconsistencies of speech are actually there to communicate speech reversals.
So something like a hidden message within the audio, in the speech that the person is giving, that if I'm talking to you on one level, you're actually hearing that level, but also hearing the encoded part.
Exactly correct. And we do hear it. We do hear it. I got whole instances of whole communications coming backwards and forwards in reverse speech. We're hearing and responding. We have conversations. A lot of our intuitive perceptions are from that sense we're getting from reverse speech.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It opens up an entire new dynamic and way of understanding communication.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it does indeed.
It sounds also like the PSE psychological stress evaluator. I don't know a great deal about that, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
Anyway, listen, let's change topic again. You wanted to hear a spiritual reversal?
Yes, please.
All right. This is really freaky, okay? I'm not normally into EVP. It's not my field, okay?
Right.
I don't research EVP. But I happened to find this one. This is when I was doing my research on churches last year. I researched the Jim Jones cult. For those who don't remember Jim Jones.
Sure do.
And his 900-odd Christians committed suicide by drinking Kool-Aid. It's where the Kool-Aid thing comes from. Anyway, so the whole thing was recorded when Jim Jones was giving his sermon, rallying everyone to drink the Kool-Aid. I did reversals on the whole lot. Anyway, right at the end of the tape, when everyone's dead, Jim Jones is dead, everyone's gone, and all you can hear is silence. So listen to this. I'm going to play this silence, and in the background, you're going to hear this very sort of gravelly, incoherent voice. Okay, you hear that gravelly voice?
Yes, I did.
Back?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I heard that, and I thought, what on earth is that? I played it again, couldn't make any sense out of it, so I played it backwards. And this is what I heard. Listen carefully.
All right.
Here's the door, and Mr. Jim Jones, welcome. Here's the door, and Mr. Jim Jones, welcome.
I heard that.
Yeah, here it is, a little bit slower. Now that is freaky. That sent chills down my spine when I found that. So it's almost like the demons welcoming him into hell, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, you asked for spirit reversal. There's a spirit reversal.
Okay, we have to take our final break, David. When we come back, let's have some fun. Once again, the babies seem to be the all-time favorites. Yeah, David Oates is my special guest, XO Nation, reversespeech.com, and David and I will return as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, my good friend David Oates from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. To be accosted in her bed and abducted by aliens was the last thing Michelle expected. Yet the fateful morning of her destined death changed everything. Lord Lan Ramos, Alpha King of Vidar, the monstrous befanged alien looming over her bed, was her destined mate come to save her from certain death. He is a telepathic mute shifter. Can Michelle accept him and his animal? Once on Lan's home planet, Michelle becomes increasingly psychic, revealing her as the fabled Oracle of Vidar. As factions conspire to destroy them, will they overcome mounting threats? Will Michelle's growing gifts save them, or ultimately destroy her? Don't miss this sci-fi shifter romance with charismatic and engaging characters. Get your copy today, The Oracle of Vidar, available on Amazon or CahiraO'Donnell.com. That's CahiraO'Donnell.com. David Oates is my guest. ReverseSpeech.com is his website. David, what do you have lined up for us?
Children. Okay, let's look at children. Children, probably my most. I would say, besides the spiritual reversals, this is my favorite aspect of reverse speech. And the theory is that as we're speaking, as children language begins, it begins backwards before it does forwards. And one of my most favorite examples of all time is this one here. I love this one. I've played this so many times. This is my daughter in a bathtub, and she's playing, and she's trying to pick up a cup. She can't pick it up, and she reaches out to me for help. So here's the forwards.
And how old is she?
This is at 13 months of age.
Wow.
13. Okay. So you'll hear the water splashing in the bathtub.
Okay.
Backwards, she says, David, which is my name. David, help me. You hear that?
I sure did.
Rosie missed it. That's probably one of my most favorite examples of all time.
It sounds like that little girl in Poltergeist when she's starting to talk through the TV set.
I've had other people use that analogy as well.
Yeah.
Here's a great one that really illustrates the power of reverse truth. This is on an 8-year-old girl, and she's telling us about her schoolwork. Okay,
Mhm.
and she's about to tell us a subject she's not good in, but she has a little slip of the tongue. So listen to this.
All right.
And I'm quite a good girl, and I'm quite good at maths and English. But
Okay, so I'm quite good at maths and English. Then she says, but I'm not.
I'm not. No,
I hear that little thing, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. No.
That's where the reversal occurs. She's about to tell us a subject she's not good at, but she changes her mind and says this instead.
I'm science, but I don't know anything else.
And when she changes her mind, she says backwards, I'm not telling.
I'm not telling. I'm not telling. I'm not telling.
Oh my gosh. I could just see you as a father. You know, you want to get the truth out of your child, and you sit them down in front of a tape recorder and say, "Now, tell me that again."
Yeah, I tell you what, my kids thought it was quite fun me reversing them when they were just 5, 6, 7. But once they turned teenage years, they wouldn't let me anywhere near them with a tape recorder.
Geez, Dave, I wonder why.
Yeah, I know. Oh, funny stuff. What else have I got here? I've got so much on kids. Here's a mirror image reversal on a child. You listen to this. This is a dad talking to his son.
And milk.
And milk? Oh, then you had a nap?
Yeah.
Were you a good rester?
Yep.
Yeah? Say, I love you, Mama.
I love you, Mama.
Bye-bye.
Baba.
Hold on, say it again.
Hi, Baba.
Oh.
I love you.
Okay, where it says, I love you, Mama,
Mama.
I love you, Mama.
he says backwards, I love you, Mama.
I love you, Mama.
Oh, Mommy.
Oh, the dad says our mummy as well.
I love you, Mama.
Oh, Mommy.
I love you, Mama.
Oh, Mommy.
That's backwards. Now here it is forwards and backwards. Here's the forwards
Say, I love you, Mama.
I love you, Mama.
and backwards.
I love you, Mama.
Oh,
You like that?
Wow.
Forwards and backwards, exactly the same. Pure of heart, you see, no lying.
Do you find that a lot, where forwards and backwards are the same?
It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. Yeah, it's a good indication that someone's telling the truth.
Right.
They're saying exactly the same thing forwards as they are backwards. And one of the famous ones I play that's the same forwards as backwards. I play this one a lot. Is my house fire. And I had a fire in my house, and my secretary runs in and says, David, the house is on fire.
Yes? What?
Something burning.
And when she says, the house is on fire, she says, our house is on fire, our house is on fire.
Oh.
And here it is forwards,
What?
Something burning.
and here it is backwards.
Oh.
There you go, that's a pretty
Oh my
close
gosh.
reversal too.
Having done reversals all these years, David, what is your favorite all-time reversal?
Oh, gee whiz, there's so many of them. Of course, the David helped me. JFK one I really like, where he predicts his own assassination. I think I played this one on your show. This is from his inaugural address in 1961.
The slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed and to which we are committed today at home and around the world.
Backwards, he says, head is hitting the car.
Ooh.
Head is hitting the car. Head is hitting the car.
You hear that?
I sure do. Loud and clear.
Premonition. Okay, he's this premonition. That's how he's shot in the head. So, that reversal put me on a whole new avenue of research into premonitions, and reverse gets a lot of premonition, predicting future events in our life, and we probably don't have time to look at all of them, but I've got some absolutely stunning examples about them.
Well, you know you're going to be back on the show. You're one of my favorite guests.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
No,
sure. We'll look at it next time.
Yeah, we go back a long time, David, and it's always a great pleasure talking to you, and I'm amazed by the reversals that you do, and I know that our listeners and viewers are as well. What are your final thoughts? What would you like to share with the X-Zone Nation tonight?
Oh dear. I think our planet is headed to, is evolving towards truth. I don't think that we can be who we really are as a species until we come face to face with our own unconscious and tackle the demons. Well, not demons. I'm talking figuratively, metaphorically,
Sure.
within. I think the reverse speech is here to usher in a new age of truth to the planet. Whether that's in my lifetime or not, I used to think it would be. I'm beginning to think it won't be now. But that's my mission with reverse speech, to bring the world into truth. So.
David Oates, I want to thank you so much for your time tonight. Always a great pleasure. Keep the great work up, and I look forward to the next time we meet here in the X-Zone, David.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye now.